First experience, found him on Facebook through my mother-in-law, who saw an advertisement, recommended him because she knew I was looking to build a custom home, didn't want a track home like most people these days. Uh, I contacted him, asked him a few questions, wanted to meet with him, met with him. The meeting went really great. He had a lot of the characteristics that I was looking for, a lot of structure, a lot of business acumen, things that I didn't get from other people that I met with. And I could tell right away that it wasn't, false. It was genuine. Um, so after we took the first plan and decided to go over a few numbers, run a few scenarios, I wasn't quite sure until I met with him a couple more times till I really locked in some hard numbers. But the first meeting, he bought me lunch, and right then I knew, okay, I got somebody that's in the business for just like in the business itself, not just to make money and
Right.
build homes. That right there struck a nerve with me, and I was like, that's really good. That's what I'm after. A
Yeah.
guy that's going to produce like that just because he likes to do it. Not because he has to. Absolutely. What I gave to him was a house that we designed ourselves. Nothing he had built before. Things that were going to change. I knew that was coming. But every phase of that scenario that I gave him, it was always, this is what it's going to be. I'll stick to it. And when it went out of what it was supposed to be, he stuck to his number. He said, no, I didn't tell you that. I'm not gonna force anything on you. I didn't tell you. And he did his homework, which is why he didn't have to deviate very much. He spent a lot of time researching, measuring, and it really showed because he never really did deviate from the number at all. Being a custom home that he didn't design, it was probably more difficult for him.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. It still came through exactly as he said it would be.
Yeah.
The only deviations were, things that we changed, and we expected that along the way.
Sure.
From the start, we gave him the plans. He made a few modifications, some really good insights to really pay dividends down the road. And I worked with him quite a bit from the very beginning. I work full time. My wife spent a little bit more time with him after she got used to talking to him, and those two talked to each other like they were family. And that really helped a lot too. Really taught us a few things we didn't think about. Doors swing this way. You might want to level your lot this way by changing your exterior wall a little bit this way. The communication was instant. I text messaged him a lot. I called him a lot. He called me a lot. We met a few times at work just because it was convenient. And yeah, he was always on top of stuff. If I ever called him about something, he was already looking into it or knew about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like hey, let me get back to you, and then several days later. It was more of an instant response. He was really engaged in it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just my house he was building. He was building the neighbor's house too.
Right.
And that takes a lot of time from one person. But yeah, definitely communication was very strong. Yeah, having never built a house or even got involved in it at all, his structure was allowances. I'd never seen that before. That may be common. I don't know, but it was very accurate. And I had asked a few questions about a few things after I viewed it just to make sure I wasn't missing something. And it was accurate. And we didn't make any move without knowing exactly what was going to happen before it happened, before we made any kind of decisions. It was all laid out, and that goes back to the structure that I was looking for that other builders don't have. They wing it a little more. You guys really didn't do that at all. It was more of a look. If he didn't know, he would definitely research it and get back to me just to make sure. Definitely was, very genuine, very forthcoming. Told me everything. What his famous phrase I heard him use several times was, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but you might want to consider doing this other option. And even if we thought about it before, we may have had to think about it a second time to make sure that's the way we wanted to go. And he used that term quite a lot, and it was kind of good. It was kind of like, well, all right, that's good to know that if we wanted to build something crazy, you'd build it. but you'd also note, okay, you may want to consider down the road that this might happen. And that happened a couple of times, and um, I don't really recall if we ever disagreed with it or anything like that. But most of the time, we just thought about it and thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try that. The uh, the total process was very fast. From what I've seen in the Metroplex and other builders. Um, he seemed to, every week, like I'd talk to him, ask him what's going on, come check out the house, and every time he would tell me, okay, I got this guy scheduled, I have that guy scheduled, and weather interfered a little bit, but as much as the weather we got, it still didn't seem like the overall thing took much longer. The delays from the weather are unavoidable, but I think he made up some time in between there, and to keep that schedule on time, and that was really helpful to be able to know, okay, we can go next weekend. They're going to grade the lot. The weekend after that, they're going to lay some sod. Whichever process was next in line. It was all lined up and scheduled, and it was done on time. I don't think there was anything that was pushed back by anything other than really just weather. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, we had a few of those.
Yeah.
We went over a few tile options when we wanted to do some designs, and it was a little confusing just communicating it, not necessarily the whole problem itself, but okay, this angle here, that angle there. Okay, do you want to do that? You're going to end up with extra here. We did do that a little bit on our tile, but that was pretty normal though, because I'm sure he didn't want to get it wrong. He wanted to take the extra time, make sure this is how you want it, because you know nobody wants to be let down. It was just nice working with him. It seemed like I'd already worked with him. After a few times I talked to him. That was my favorite part, and plus, being able to throw anything I wanted to out of the table and get an honest answer. If you suggest something ridiculous, he'd tell you. He'd still do it, but you'd know about it. You'd be like, okay, that's foolish, or nobody does that anymore. But you can go ahead and do it. I definitely would recommend Peter, just because the he has really high integrity, and that's not faked. That's genuine, and the business acumen's pretty high too. When you talk to somebody about building homes, a lot of them may just want to build a home, move on to the next, not necessarily knowing one thing about the other. And we had to deal with several things. With the city being different on a few things and not contracting for some stuff, or writing things out like they were actually asking for, and all the way up to talking to the landowner that we had to purchase the land from. That was something I didn't know anything about. Uh, I learned a lot about that. He definitely guided us through that stuff. That was pretty helpful. I'm not sure if any other builder would have done that, or taken the time to do it. Of course, they all can. Um, I definitely won't build another home without using, Keter. That's for sure. I don't want to go any other road. Um, when we had our concrete poured, uh, there were some spots in it that weren't quite smooth, and of course they're right by the entryway. Some rough patches. And, we looked at that when it was poured, and we thought, man, that doesn't look very good at all. I wonder what's going on with that. Maybe it's not the finished product, or maybe they had a problem with some kind of weather, or mechanical problems, or anything like that. And, it was very close to the end of the home building process. And so we thought, okay, are we going to have to deal with that on our own down the road, or is that something that's going to be taken care of? Chuck definitely took care of that before we even brought it up. And that was really nice to know that, okay, we don't have to discuss it to make sure, okay, is that normal? Is it not normal? And, it wasn't a big problem, but he took the time to fix it because, he wasn't happy with it. And that went a long way for us too. That's high integrity right there. One of the biggest fears I had was, when you build a home, custom home, you don't really know anything, unless you've done it before. So one thing I was highly researching was pretty much anything I could associated with high costs. One of the highest costs I didn't know about was a construction loan. Okay, does the builder buy that, or do I get into that, or so I tried to do a little research there. Um, I did a little research and came up with a few numbers on my own. And Chuck basically said, I don't think you should probably worry about that right now. That's going to be a cost down the road, no matter what you do. He said, I don't know if he does this for everybody or what, but I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. I've reviewed some of the stuff you have, and we're going to be able to beat that, no problem. So let's just not worry about that. We'll move on to the next round. And it was kind of nice to not have to deal with that, because that could have been a long, drawn out process for me. Paperwork, paycheck stubs, credit reports, stuff like that. And yeah, and with a construction loan, if you've never done it, you don't know anything about it. It's not a home loan. It could be 10 times worse if you do it on your own, or it could be just as easy just doing it with a builder that knows what he's doing.